I have not done a 100 years quest like spoiler video in a while. I actually have to go back and look after this one and see like how far back it was that I last did a 100 years quest spoiler. But I really wanted to talk about what we have so far. Granted, it's not translated. The chapter is out in raw, and there's stuff that I have translated. Like, I'm not the best translator, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. But the stuff that we know about Celine that was given this chapter makes her so much more interesting than she was before. So, like, one of the things I've mentioned multiple times in my videos is that each of the dragon gods have been portrayed very differently. Like, Mercephobia was a dragon who was trying to be reformed. He was trying to do better in life. As much as I liked Alderaan, like, Alderaan was really cool. I loved his design. I love the fact that he tried to fight Acnologia at one point 100 years after when his onslaught began. And I really liked the development that we got out of his art, the different designs of the god seeds as well as their abilities. I thought and the whole of his arc was really interesting. I like that a lot about him, but at the same time, he's like Zero. Like, he's really cool in a lot of ways, but there's not a whole lot outside of what we got, like, at the very surface area. Because, like I said, Mercephobia was a dragon who was trying to reform himself, whereas Alderaan was this kind of fallen, like, big evil conquering dragon, kind of like just some big onslaught, tyrannical dude. Like, you can really tell by the way he thought, as well as obviously like in his god seed form, like the crown on his head, clearly he thought very highly of himself. But with Celine, like, Ignea's like different, because Ignea is just like this complete and total wild card that just does whatever the hell he feels like at whatever the point in the day. But Celine definitely gives off a much more intelligent, much more kind of focused vibe. And when it comes to her, like, Mishima actually like treats like his female characters a lot better than the males at times. Like, when you look at, say, characters like Kyoka and characters like Ultir, or even Irene, like, he gives a lot of big moments and a lot of spotlight to them. So seeing Celine, like, clearly being this much hype is really cool. And this is something that I've been pondering since we had the correction from Weekly Sorcerer. That's one of the things, like, I wish we had a simultaneous release, but I appreciate the fan translators for doing what they do in the meantime. But during all this, like, we have Celine revealed, like, it's like, oh, Elantir swallowing the moon, but that was actually a mistranslation, and then we find out it's actually the moon is swallowing Elantir. So once we got to that, I don't know if I've mentioned it. I think I mentioned it in a stream, and I was actually talking to somebody about this last night, that seemingly it means that Celine had to go to a different dimension in order to escape Acnologia, and ended up taking over as well. Like, for one, that hypes her up, but it also hypes Acnologia's, like, sheer level of presence and force, that Celine is like, it's so aware that she has to escape him, that she had to go to an entirely different dimension, like, for that to transpire. Like, very impressive on, like, both of their parts. But this makes me also like Edelus a lot more, because it gives Edelus more of a reason to exist in the series other than just being like an Elseworlds. Because, like, it's, when it comes to, like, a lot of the arcs, like, Edelus was one of the weaker ones in my opinion, but the way that it's connecting to bigger things, and now we're getting kind of like we're getting like Edelus being directly what's linked and carried into the arc with Celine, which I really like. I think that's actually really cool. One of the things I've loved about 100 Years Quest is how well Mishima has circled back to older stuff and made it relevant again, while still, like, pushing the new stuff forward. I think that's just really cool, and it gives more of a feel of the whole, like, story, instead of just like, oh yeah, that old stuff, just forget about it, it's never going to be important again, we're only going to move forward, only the stuff ahead is going to be big. I like that it's both. It makes it feel way more well put together for the story. But Celine in general, I can't wait to see exactly what this chick's capable of. Like, she's clearly gonna be extremely powerful. I actually really like this shot of her in front of the moon. It makes me think of the first thing I thought of, because this is the shape of her, and when being in the moon, is I thought of the Great Leviathan from the Awakening the Dragons arc from Yu-Gi-Oh, but like that's a good thing. That was a big badass fucking serpent, and Celine doing the same thing. Like I really want to see like what exactly her arc is going to be like, because like she's clearly going to be way different, and it's not the same as like Mercephobia, who for the most part they only really fought him. They didn't really fight any of his people. And then with Alderaan, it was the God Seeds and Alderaan, because with Alderaan it was like it's like a whole raid. You were fighting, like the entire boss fight is also the terrain. It was really cool when you think about it. But Celine has her own dimension. She is going to have like an entire army. She's going to have subordinates that are, you know, she's probably going to have some pretty high ranking people to be like, oh yeah, go fight for me, you know, do whatever. Probably some like ones that are actually relevant. I'm actually curious to how the Dragon Eaters are going to get there. There's definitely a couple small things I'm also really curious to know if she's related to, because if she can transcend dimensions, that's another thing that maybe she's tied to, is maybe the Anima portal, because there's already a bunch of stuff I theorize that maybe she's related to, like Moondrip, Fairy Glitter, the Celestial Spirit Keys, and now maybe even the Anima. Like she's potentially like just this mastermind of all this like crazy stuff that's happened within the series. So really looking forward to seeing how this goes. The only thing that I can really think of like that I don't really want, this is not that I don't want it, but I kind of would prefer not, is if Elantir, it's kind of like Daedalus, where it's got like a version of these characters but slightly different. I kind of want Elantir to be its own thing, but I don't know. We'll see. I'm not opposed to having like antagonist versions of like the main cast, but at the same time I'd rather get new characters rather than, you know, an already switch, because we already had Daedalus and we already had Fairy Nail. Even though Fairy Nail was way more of a gag portion, more of like for the comedy, Daedalus was its own arc. So like I don't really want to see that again. I would actually rather see like if she has like, if you were to do that, it's like Elantir versions of characters, I'd want it to be a bunch of the villains. I'd like to see her have like a buffed up Zero, a buffed up Hades, a buffed up Jienma. That'd actually be great. I'd love to see a round 3 of Jienma. That would actually make me happy, because I've always really liked the idea of him just returning as an antagonist in some way, shape, or form. But anyway, other than that, though, comment below. I really just wanted to do some spoiler videos on it. I don't want to go too long. I could obviously rant about this, but I'm going to save a lot of my rants for the actual review that'll come out in a couple hours. But other than that, comment below, thumbs up the video, before the like button, subscribe button, and check out my other videos. But other than that, I appreciate everyone's already subscribed, and thank you all for listening. Also, this new cover is amazing. Thanks everyone for listening. Bye.